In 1935, a man stood before a crowd and made a declaration. "I solemnly assure you that I will not die a Hindu." It was a pledge to sever ties with the religion of his birth. That man was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was a Columbia-educated constitutional lawyer, a primary architect of modern India, and a dedicated champion of Dalit rights. This diagram shows the Hindu Varna system. It organizes society into a rigid, multi-tiered pyramid of inherited castes. But millions of people, the Dalits, are positioned entirely outside the base of this pyramid, branded as untouchables. The theological engine keeping them trapped there is the doctrine of karma. The system dictates that a Dalit's current subjugation is the direct punishment for their actions in a past life. This creates a closed loop, absolving the privileged classes of guilt for the suffering they enforce. And that religious dogma dictates a brutal material reality. Dalits are forced into spatial isolation on the outskirts of villages, systematically denied access to education, and restricted to menial, degrading labor. Famous Indian reformers, most notably Mahatma Gandhi, believed this structure could be healed. They spent years trying to reform the caste system from the inside. But Ambedkar saw a flaw in that approach. He realized the caste system functioned as a sealed ideological prison. You cannot ask the architects of a prison to dismantle it from the inside. To find a new framework, Ambedkar had to look outward. That outward look began in July 1913, when Ambedkar arrived in New York City. He was stepping into a booming global metropolis, wrestling with its own forms of social inequality. Enrolling at Columbia University, he studied under foundational interwar thinkers in sociology and political science. Here, Ambedkar learned the academic frameworks necessary to deconstruct complex social systems. He applied these frameworks to a unique comparative thesis. He began placing the Dalit experience in India side by side with the Black American experience under Jim Crow, analyzing the underlying mechanics of how each group was kept down. This representation illustrates the critical structural difference he identified. In America, slavery and racial segregation were deeply entrenched, but they were sanctioned by secular, man-made law. That distinction is its vulnerability. Because legal oppression is written by men, it can be fought by men. It can be challenged through civil wars, overridden by legislation, and dismantled by constitutional amendments. Now look at India. The oppression of the caste system isn't born from secular law. It is sanctioned by religious doctrine. The hierarchy is baked into the foundational scriptures of Hinduism itself. This creates an impossible paradox for reformers. Because belief in Hinduism inherently demands a belief in its divine caste structure, destroying the caste system requires destroying the religion. Superficial internal reforms like this could never work. Gandhi tried to shift the narrative by calling Dalits Harijans, or Children of God. But changing a title without altering the foundational theology simply rebrands the subjugation. When oppression is divine rather than secular, playing by the rules of the oppressor's system only legitimizes their authority. A legal fight requires a skilled lawyer. A theological fight requires an exit strategy. Ambedkar reached his conclusion. If the house is structurally rotten to its foundation, no amount of remodeling will save it. You have to move out. On October 14, 1956, in a gathering in Nagpur, Ambedkar executed that exit. Accompanied by 360,000 Dalit followers, he publicly severed all ties with Hinduism and converted to Buddhism. Ambedkar framed this conversion as a calculated political tool, a mechanism for psychological emancipation and a public defiance of the hierarchy. Decades later, the systemic resistance that Ambedkar identified is still operational across India. The theoretical oppression remains a physical reality. To this day, Dalits face violent retaliation for defying everyday caste restrictions, like drawing water from a public well or simply riding a motorcycle. And the state actively attempts to close the exit doors. Modern apparatuses use strict anti-conversion laws and deny affirmative action benefits to Dalits who leave Hinduism, a bureaucratic trap designed to force them to remain within the hierarchy. True liberation is not always achieved by fighting a system from the inside. Ambedkar's legacy proves that sometimes the most revolutionary act is recognizing an unreformable system and having the courage to walk away entirely to reclaim your humanity.